Hey, Amir. When there's a big event, there's always a few people who have to warm up the audience. That's how I feel right now, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
uh,
And
yeah,
I like the fact that they found the only photo of me with a button shirt in for the intro. So that's the only button shirt I own as an engineer.
yeah. The internet never forgets. That's true. I have my fair share of people picking up things there as well. So, today we're going to talk about the AI native dev landscape. This is what Guy also mentioned in his keynote. We've been collecting tools, looking at tools for several months right now, and I think this session is what's new, what's coming, and it's the great intro for the whole AI tools in actions because there's so many tools out there, and people are really craving to have more tools. If you haven't done yet, you can see it at landscape.ainativedev.io. uh, Pay that a visit. If anything's missing, let us know. All right. So I'm going to kick it off with the first observation. I was adding tools to this and they came in, and you think you know a few coding tools. And if like every week there's a couple of new of them. So that code section exploding. I don't know whether you notice the same thing, Amir, but why is that? Why is that so unique and happening now?
So this is very common. So that's a great question. And every time you see like a new technology coming up, developers love it and create a lot of interesting innovation around it. So if you remember when Android was launched, tons and millions of applications came to fruition. So we're seeing the same thing. There's a new thing in town, which is like, how can we use AI in a better way to generate software? And there's tons of tools that are targeting multiple aspects of software creation, whether it's design, whether it's prototyping, whether it's testing, whether it's the IDE. And we're seeing a lot of things happening around the IDE lately. The questions that we need to ask ourselves in the future is like, which of these tools are going to be consolidated and which of these tools are going to work well together? Because if you remember the old days of every time you have this type of innovation, you have tons of tools, but none of them are connected. And you need to do um, a lot of building yourself
Cool.
and scripting yourself in order to connect all these tools. So I think the key here is to evaluate all these and to see what works well together in a stack.
That's a good observation. And I think when we initially thought about categorizing things as, oh, this one is an agent, this one is has that. It was a lot more about the features. But what is happening is because there's so much fierce competition, is that every tool is copying whatever cool new feature the other one. So it's almost like a race to the bottom. And like you say, the survival will be the one that is maybe not the best ultimate coding tool, but the one that integrates, the one that looks at the workflow and improves that in the whole coding tool.
100%.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I totally agree. I think as an engineer, I want everything to work together and to give me the best interface and the best process and the best workflow so I can be productive. I don't need to work for my tools. So right now, you do a lot of working for your tools in order to connect them all. But I think that we'll see how prompt engineering connects to my cursor, connects to my testing. I think that is the near future.
Well, it's a period of chaos, like any new technology, and this is surfing the wave of innovation a
Exactly.
bit in there, indeed. All right. In the last 6 months, something that caught everybody's eye was the vibe coding, right? That really resonated, although it is essentially not something new. But I had my fair share in my life about having labels and people all of a sudden react to this. The reaction to vibe coding was enormous, right? There
Yeah.
was haters, there's lovers. Um, in your opinion, what is it? How does it bring value?
So I think the first thing is that it's a horrible brand. I think it's a very bad name for something that I think is very useful. We call it vibe coding because it's almost derogatory. It's like, yeah, I have a vibe to code something. But if you look at it behind the scene, the actual the actual process is actually makes a lot of sense. The human says what they want to do, and we're working with the AI. They create stuff, and vibe coding starts with like, hey, the engineer, the person doesn't know anything about engineering, but I'm an engineer, and I tremendously enjoyed using vibe coding because I was more effective using the vibe coding and to get the workloads that I wanted to do. I didn't want to engineer a back-end service that was infinitely scalable. I wanted to make a simple page, and I didn't want to code it. And I don't really like CSS and stuff like that. So the vibe coding created all that for me. I'm more of a back-end engineer, and it was really, really useful. I would actually call it PM coding because I think I acted as the PM in that instance, and I told the AI what to do. Last thing I'm going to say about vibe coding is that they've solved not just the coding, but also the SRE job, which is really interesting. A lot of these people, it doesn't just creates the code, it also deploys the code, which I think is very interesting because it takes more of the CI/CD workloads and automates them for me. So I don't need to worry about a lot of the processes of just deploying it and seeing and sharing a link to someone that I want to share this thing that I've created for.
Yeah, I'm all about like operationally and deploying stuff, so that's great. In one of my blog articles, I talk about the shift from moving from coder to manager. On the one hand, you're managing and watching whatever is being generated, whether that's good or not, that review process, but also in production when it fails, right? Like you are responsible still, like, and having that understanding is really key. For those who don't know, the word vibe coding actually originates a little bit within the AI engineering world, where within the community, when people were delivering AI applications, and they were like, "Looks good to me," and like whenever a new model comes out, they didn't have rigorous testing, and the community started calling this vibe checks of models. And I think that's how that term kind of got into the vibe coding thing as well. I think it's so powerful. It's scary at the same time. But yeah, I'm hooked. It gets you into the flow, right? Much like your coding flow, and that's really powerful. And the better the tools will get, the better, the more robust that we're prepared for this. So definitely vibe coding. I don't see it that much as a scary thing as others kind of portray it. Of course, if you don't look at your code, okay, right? There's scrutiny, but you're still professional, right? So if that is, and I also like the fact that Karpati brought in maybe to do it by voice, which is another fun thing, right? I don't know if you heard about that, but you
Yeah,
just talk to the machine, it just accepts it.
I love that, and it really resonates what you said about checking and doing the PR, because I think you need to use vibe coding today for certain workloads. I wouldn't do vibe coding today for security and compliance, for example, but I'll definitely do vibe coding for creating a prototype for a front end or a simple game. So I think that the more core the workload is, the more the human needs to be involved in checking and maintaining and making sure that it passes not just the vibe check, but also the rigorous testing that you need to do for some workloads. But if it's actually for lightweight workloads, things that you do for marketing, for example, creating a web page for marketing, then this is a great tool for prototyping. And I believe that the AI will become better and more proficient in core workloads as time passes.
Yeah, and that prototyping is key. Like I use it many times. You do vibe coding of a period, you just accept it, but you actually start understanding the problem better. So when you're actually going to do the coding, you have actually explored the domain. So similar to exploratory testing, it's like exploratory coding
Exactly.
as such. All right, let's move on to the next big trend, MCP. It seems like the golden key or something right now. Like everybody's doing MCP, right?
Yes, everybody's doing and everybody's talking about MCP.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a few successful implementations of MCP. I think Zapier is doing a very good job there, and I think that the key here is that connected systems are, I think, the most important thing in modern software. Like if you're building software that does not connect systems, it has a very limited use. And MCP is the way, or at least the current way, to connect between AI and integrating systems, just like API used to be for regular coding that we used to do. And I think MCP also is a new paradigm that needs to be tested. So a lot of my friends have used MCP and they say, hey, it's a great standard and I love the server functionality, but it does have a lot of things that are still missing there. So it's been in the market for about a month in our minds, with a lot, maybe a little bit more, with the launch of a few popular MCP servers, but it's still work in progress. That's my thought right now.
Yeah, where last year was no, before last year it was all about making work in vector databases. Last year was evals, and this year it's everything about MCP and exposing. And I think it's the nice thing is that all the vendors can bring in their APIs, so that kind of ecosystem blew up in a way that you don't have to have an integration or a plugin or something within the ecosystem of your coding editors, but you can just start using the tool. So I hear what you're saying. It's not as like the perfect standard, but at least it's something that is being worked on, and that's why it's so great as and it's
100%.
being integrated everywhere, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think there's like there's two levels of problems here as an engineer. One of them is to choose the right system for my prompt. So let's say I have Slack connected and I have Jira connected. I have multiple systems in my organization. So the first level is to choose the system that I want to work with. MCP does not solve that. That's still to be solved. But once I choose the right system, MCP helps me implement what I want to do as an AI in that system of record. So I think that's where
Yep.
MCP is very useful.
Cool. Right. Specifications, maybe one of the last things we're going to talk about. We started not just doing prompts, but like just feed it like whatever. Like we write it the specification, either product or technical, which is also a new trend that they're all building this kind of in one form or another in there as well. So
Yeah.
that's just one. Like for the sake of time, I'll move on to the next one as well. Autonomous coding agent is probably where the excitement is, and also the guy showed it in his keynote. Um, yeah, it's headless, it's CLI, it's asynchronous, and it just does the work, right?
Yeah, I love that because it actually adds the aspect to agents that have been missing for so long, which is agency. We've been working with agents, telling them what to do, not giving them their own agency to create the things that they need to do. And coming back to vibe coding, I really like the fact that when there's an error, it automatically asks you, hey, should I check it? Should I fix it? So I think the future holds in systems that are autonomous, that have their own agency to solve problems. And I think we'll see that in the very near future.
So you speak already about the future, right? So
Yes,
we
I
got a
love
lot
it.
moving in the last 6 months, right? We got some new excited integrations and directions where it's heading. One interesting question is, what are we still missing, right? What kind of do we need? What's unpolished? What's kind of like emerging?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear your thoughts there as well, because I think you have tons of experience and knowledge in this area. What I think will happen now is an era of consolidation, where a lot of these tools are going to be connected or acquired by other companies, and we're going to see more stacks of connected agents and systems and testing and basically everything that we had in the CI/CD pipeline, everything that we had in the old traditional coding, will need to port into this new way of doing things. So I think that's one thing. The next thing is that we're going to go and see more and more core workloads being implemented with this method. Right now, I'm seeing POCs, proof of concepts, and early stage mockups, but we're not seeing core workloads. So I think we're going to see that. And with that, more enterprise adoption of these solutions. So that's my bet for the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I definitely hope it's coming to more enterprises, and the scrutiny on there will indeed be key. I'm looking forward to solving things like doing something on behalf of a user. Authentication is kind of like something that's still,
I love that.
well, authentication is one thing, but access control, who gets access to what agents, like even in VIOLA mode, what resources you're allowing. So I'm getting the vibes of access management control of AWS, where it's like super complex to give access. Also kind of that like asynchronous will be fun, and in general how people build up that trust, like what Guy was saying. We gotten good at like describing what we want, and it gets more context, but I see kind of the flip side of this. How do you actually know and describe what good looks like? Because now it's generating, and then we are still the ones that kind of need to assess it. So now we need a system that actually judges, in the evaluations, they call it like LLM as a judge, but we need something that actually understands and on our behalf starts saying this is good and this is bad. Not just it runs or the linter passes, but this is actually what I meant. So that's a lot of exploration
I love that.
to be common. So the next 6 months at the next event, Amir, let's see where we came from. And I thank you for just sharing your thoughts. And it's just an exciting space. So yeah, awesome. And I guess now it's over back to back, right? And enjoy the rest of the track.
Thank you so much.